This is Peggy Ann Dempsey Childers. That's the name I have to go by. I've got a lot of YouTubes up, and I've suffered the consequences of telling the truth. Nothing but the truth, so help me God. I won't put my real name on here. I didn't find out until 1983 when I was flown out to Larry Flint's, and I usually put an endorsement by Mr. Flint because I was doing a book, medical malpractice book, and I want to put the doctor's name down here to make sure you get it because he's still in practice. He's living good. His son, the junior, is in practice in Atlanta, Georgia. They've gone on to live a really good life, and I want to tell you why I'm putting this up here. I just Googled, and it said under medical malpractice that none had been found or filed. I beg to pardon. I have been used in all this. I found out about my kidnapping in '83 after I was out at Flint's, and the Brits told me. So there's no question about that. The part I want to go back to is for 7 years, this sick individual raped and tortured and helped program a person. And I was doing the medical malpractice book, and Larry McDonald at Piedmont Hospital was part of it, and a number of other doctors. Later in '83, when I was flown out to Flint's to show you some of the connections that aren't a coincidence, Larry McDonald, Congressman Doctor's plane went down. The KAL, the Korean jetliner, veered into Russian airspace and was shot down, and all aboard died. I will say this, Juneau, Alaska to Seoul, South Korea was en route to, and Nixon, who plays a part in all this, and the dear Dr. Gonzalez, the sick individual that you've turned loose on your children and on innocent victims who go there for help, and to be raped and tortured is unbelievable. But I'm just going to skip here and get to the point. After I did the book, it was called MD A License to Kill. I had a letter from the FBI, and it was dated June the 23rd of '79. Well, after then, all hell broke loose. I took copies of the ongoing investigation, national security involved, William Harper, U.S. Attorney, issued me by the orders of the FBI. I had antifreeze put in me. I went for a tox screen at West Paces Ferry Hospital, and you should see what happened to me. There was a doctor waiting on me, and at the emergency room, like he knew I was coming. I knew I was in trouble. I didn't know what they'd put in me, but I went there to get it neutralized and find out if they could save me, quite frankly. Instead, I got locked up, and no lab work whatsoever was done. This is a hospital. I went to the emergency room, a regular hospital on just off Far Road. Not too far from the governor's mansion. So I want to go on, and this went on. I went in April Fool of '80. This is an April Fool joke. They could do all this to me. Beecham was the doctor. Well, first of all, at the emergency room, the head of Parkwood, Cliff Valley Way, and that's where Gonzalez was a doctor, had an office there. He shouldn't have been there, I was told later when I lived and I tried to get something done about it. This doctor who was head of Parkwood, where Gonzalez was in practice, and this doctor was in practice, was waiting on me. And again, I'll say, when I asked for the tox screen, I got locked up instead and not allowed to leave. How they did it, I didn't know. I knew I was dying. It was a holy hell. Let me just skip. Nothing was done other than they tried to give me a drug that put me into orbit. I mean, I was really wishing I was dead by that time. I mean, I was already in hell trying to save myself. A British lady, nurse, saved me. My husband or ex-husband was out of town, who conveniently come back and became a part of this whole mess. I was no tox was done. I was illegally taken across the state line to Huntsville, Alabama, to Crestwood. There, I was locked up there. The woman that I grew up, Lina Dempsey, this is on other YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And I've got birth certificates of twins where the state of Alabama marked through it and put the date of birth that was given me. I was kidnapped in 41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama. My identity stolen. And there's no doubt in anybody's mind. When I was flown out to Larry Flint's during the campaign, I found out just a little bit later, his chauffeur was with British intelligence. The British told me. So it's who I am, is why all the mess happened, and gave everybody carte blanche to torture me, do anything in the book to me and my children, and my mom and dad. So I can't go into all that right now. I've done it on other YouTubes, and I pray before I die. I'm 76 years old. I can hardly walk. That the truth is told, and I get to see some people, most of them are dead, like Lina Dempsey, mother of the twins, where they took me at Moulton. And I've got the pictures and all of it put up. She died. She had killed her twins, and I was put there. It was near Cortland Air Base in 41. And I grew up and didn't find out my real name till 83. Now, I'd done the book. I did find out at Crestwood, after I'd been there, this was April the 1st, I went to West Paces Fair. I had the antifreeze in me and didn't know what it was. Went there to find out if it could be neutralized. Now I'm transported by this woman, Dempsey, across the state line back to Huntsville. She takes me to Crestwood, which is a hospital of all. You go there. And she told me that if I tried to get out, well, you'd have to see the condition I was in. You should have antifreeze put in you and all this going on and see what hell really is. So anyway, she told me she'd call the cops to me if I tried to get out and run. She took me to Crestwood, sit there until I finally went in. And I stayed there for about 2 weeks, and I've forgotten the doctor's name now, but it was very important in all this. But anyway, nothing was done there until that Wednesday, and so that's how many days later. I go in on the 1st, and Sunday was Easter. This is the following Wednesday. Easter was on the 6th, so 7, 8, about the 9th or 10th. The tox was finally done. I guess he thought it'd all be gone. It wasn't sent to Alabama, which by law it should have been. When it came back from Atlanta, Georgia. It should have gone to Montgomery, Alabama. And it showed antifreeze. Now then, I get out, finally make it, and this is hell. I should have died. I ended up working for the district attorney, passing a background check, went to work for Fred Simpson, the DA, Madison County, Huntsville, Alabama. Now then, I'm just going to leave it at that. I want to get back to Gonzalez. In the book, I'd written about him, and I also wrote about, he's a child psychiatrist. I had met him when I worked at the health spa, Cosmopolitan, which was about 1964, I think, in Huntsville, Alabama. He was a child psychiatrist at Redstone Arsenal. He had been at the Kennedy. He was internist at Kennedy when he was shot. So there's a connection there I've explained on other videos. Now, he's in Redstone Arsenal. This is back before I moved to Atlanta and had the antifreeze and came back. I had met him at the health spa. I was an instructor. He brought his wife there. She was from Honduras. And she just had a baby, all right? And now that baby is grown up and a doctor in Atlanta, living good. He's a junior, Victor Gonzalez Jr. Now then, Gonzalez came in, and I didn't like him from the beginning. He made a point of going around with his wife every exercise I showed her, and she only came a few times. And then I remember I walked out one night to go up and eat at the deli, walk up just the sidewalk, and he was waiting for me. And he said, would you get in the car and go with me? And I said to him, your wife has just had a